Hello, hello. This is something different, but the game two of Miami Heat versus the Bucks is in about 6 hours, and I'm just really interested in this series right now. I'm a Raptors fan, but the series just seems really interesting to me. I just want to talk about some things after game one. So going into game two, I think the Bucks are going to take this one, but I would not be surprised if Miami goes up 2-0. So I guess just to start off, I'll talk about what went right for Miami last game. Jimmy Butler dropping 40, playoffs career high, obviously. I mean, they just couldn't stop him from getting to the rim and, drawing fouls. He took, 14 free throws last game or something like that. He can consistently do that. He's going to get to the line, and when he's hitting his shots like he was in the clutch there, I mean, he's kind of unstoppable. In the playoffs this season, he's shooting, 66% from three? I mean, that's insane. He's a hard man to stop. And he stopped passing the ball as much as he did in the regular season. Regular season, he was averaging 6 assists a game. In the playoffs so far, he's only averaging 3.5. So that's kind of interesting to see that he's changed to more of a scorer here in the playoffs. And that's where the Bucks, they're missing Eric Bledsoe, man. I mean, because Goran Dragic also goes off for 27. I mean, Eric Bledsoe, he's one of those defensive guys that you can throw him on Dragic or Jimmy Butler for some possessions and, make life harder for them. But they both just kind of got whatever shots they wanted last game, even if, some of them were tough. But Jimmy Butler does like to take those kind of tough midi pull-ups. And kind of a narrative going into this series was that, the Bucks, they give up a lot of threes, and the Heat shoot a lot of threes. So it's just going to be, can the Heat shoot their threes? But interestingly, if you look at last game, the Bucks shot more threes than the Heat, and the Heat only hit 38% of their threes, while the Bucks hit 45%. So that's just another concerning thing for the Bucks, is that, it seems like the Heat are going to try and follow the blueprint that the Raptors set in their series versus the Bucks last year, where it's just going to be, clog the paint, force Giannis to kick out the shooters, and make the role players beat them. Without Eric Bledsoe, they just have one less role player that can really create their shots. I mean, you're going to see Wesley Matthews and Pat Connaughton get heavy minutes. It's just, it's not the best thing you want to see in the playoffs. And Mike Budenholzer also just has a problem, man. He refuses to cut short on the bench. I mean, he's running 9-10-man rotations. You got to cut that down to 8. When you're down 1-0, I want to see Giannis playing heavy minutes, Chris Middleton playing heavy minutes. I mean, I think this is a must-respond game for the Bucks, because they just haven't really struck me as a team that can turn it around down 2-0. What are they really going to change at that point? So I think this is going to be the deciding game for the series. And the Heat, really, I don't think we're going to see much different from them today. Another interesting about last game is a lot of their role players didn't play too great. I mean, Goran Dragic had a great game. Bam got 17 boards, which if he's rebounding like that, and Jay Crowder had 9, I mean, that's just another advantage that you can take away from Milwaukee, who, usually are pretty good at rebounding. They got out-rebounded by 12 last game. I mean, they gave up 12 offensive boards. That's a really big problem. But yeah, so if the Heat's role players step up, you get more than 9 from Jay Crowder. Tyler Hero only had 11 in 29 minutes. We know he's capable of going off for more than that. Duncan Robinson, only 4 points in 26 minutes. I mean, he gets hot in an instant. So, if you're a Heat fan, you're thinking, I mean, dang, we beat them without our role players even really stepping up. This was just Jimmy Butler taking over along with Dragic. And if you're a Bucks fan, you're saying, I mean, kind of the same thing. Giannis only had 18 points, right? I mean, you've come to expect a lot more from Giannis, who's averaging 30 and 15 in the playoffs so far. Chris Middleton gave you 28, which is great. Brook Lopez gave you 24, but I think Brook Lopez is spacing out so much, and the Heat have been able to switch him so much. I mean, he only got 1 rebound last game. You're going to need more out of him on the boards. Versus Heat team, especially, offensive rebounds often lead to wide open 3-point shots. They just cannot afford to get out rebounded again. Another thing is, last game, the Heat, they had 21 assists, and the Bucks only had 22. I mean, the those aren't big assist numbers. I mean, we see teams have lots more assists, and so what that's telling us is just a lot of ISO play from the Heat. I mean, you get Jimmy Butler in these pick and rolls. He's looked unstoppable last game. I'm not sure how the Bucks are gonna adjust this game to make it any different, or if there is anything they can do to adjust and make it different. So yeah, just what I want to see this game. If you're the Heat, continue to block out Giannis. Try and make his life as hard as possible. Because if you can stop Giannis, you've stopped the Bucks. I mean, just looking at their players, they don't really have those people that can step up. I mean, Chris Middleton, he's a shaky player. 28 points seems like probably going to be the best game he has in this series. I mean, Brook Lopez had 24. He stepped up and they still lost. So it's like, how much more are you really going to see from the Bucks? And with the Heat, with the Bucks, what you're saying is, put Giannis on Jimmy. I think that's simple. Put Giannis on Jimmy. He's the defensive player of the year. Put him on the other team's best player who just had 40. But if you're doing that, you got to see more out of Brook Lopez in the paint. We got to see more blocks, more rebounds out of him, because he's got to make up for if Giannis is out on the perimeter more, that rebounding and stuff. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I'm thinking Bucks take this game. I'm thinking Giannis bounce backs big time. His free throw shooting is still proving to be a really big problem. At this point, it's a mental block. I'm not sure what else to say about that. He's got to get better in the free throw line. But I expect Giannis to have a big game. I think the Bucks shooters will do better, and I expect them to make the necessary adjustments to beat the Heat in this game. But I would not be surprised at all if the Heat take the 2-0 lead. And if they do, I'll say pretty confident. I'll say 70% chance Heat win the series if they can take game 2. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Subscribe, I guess. If you want to. I'm not going to force anybody. And cue that sick outro.